A warm welcome, and I'm very proud to see everybody here. Even though yesterday was a long night, I see that everybody's full of energy, and this is EAS. I love it. And I'm very happy to introduce Yvonne Wasserloos today, our third and most important keynote speaker, so to say. No, everybody is important, but not because... Last but not least is what I should say. Okay. Yvonne is working at University Mozarteum in Salzburg in musicology, and she's invited because she built up a department on music and power. And this is the field that she's working in and very intensively in the last years. And her work was honored by the city of Salzburg by the Cultural Fonds, the main prize of the Cultural Fonds in 2025. And now I have to simultaneously translate from German because what the city of Salzburg said is really nice. The city of Salzburg is honoring her, not only her scientific work in this field, but also the contribution of Wasserloos to strengthen open and reflective and historical sensitive communication and music culture. So welcome on stage, Yvonne, and the floor is yours. We are very excited to hear about your topic.
I'm really happy to be here and to give a keynote speech, last but not at least, so to say. So, dear President Marina Goll and the board members of EAS, before proceeding, I would like to thank, of course, Isolde Malmberg, Wilfried Eigner, and the whole organizing team for inviting me, and as well Tade Buchon for the nice introduction. And as a musicologist, as we heard about it, is this a great honor and even a pleasure for me to speak at this outstanding conference of music education. And the well-chosen, positive concept of advanced democracy could hardly be more timely. It has become increasingly evident that democracy itself is under considerable strain, and I came across many encouraging discussions at this conference. My own contribution, however, takes a different direction, and I will focus on the, so to say, dark side, on the political activism of the far right. They cannot be considered as a part of a democratic spectrum. Rather, they must be understood as fundamentally anti-democratic and destructive to democracy, as my title already suggests. In a sense of advanced democracy, I assume now the role of the bad cop. And I will particularly pay attention to the staging of the far right within digital environments through audiovisual media. Therefore, I'm going to analyze some musical phenomena from a musicological, cultural, and historical perspective in order to provide some support on how to recognize and deal with far-right music media. At the end of the lecture, I would like to facilitate a joint discussion on how such anti-democratic tendencies might be effectively countered. So, but let's begin with a brief overview. I think you know this already, but just as to build up a common basis of the current state of democracy globally and particularly in Europe since 2005. In short, the trajectory can be described as one of decline, as evidenced by the democracy report produced by the VDEM Institute, means Varieties of Democracies, at the University of Gothenburg. This report, compiled by an independent panel of international experts, is widely regarded as a key reference work on the global state of democracy. Published annually in March, it assesses developments in the preceding year. A review of its titles since 2019 reveals a clear narrative of decline. The term democracy itself disappears in some years, replaced increasingly by autocratization. And this is the current from 26. Unraveling the democratic era concludes that the period since 2005 may represent a sustained phase of autocratization and potentially the erosion of democratic dominance. Statistically, Democracy has regressed to levels last seen in 1978 for the average global citizen. The world has never before seen as many countries autocratizing at the same time as during the last few years. Just 18 countries, you see them in the green frame on the left. 18 countries in the world are still to be labeled as liberal democracies. Even Austria had been downgraded from liberal democracies to the category of electoral democracies from 2021 to 2024. And since 2025, Austria is in transition between a liberal and an electoral democracy. You may find your own country somewhere on the table. This raises a crucial question. How did this occur, and what role do music and media play, and who are the actors? The year 2024, widely described as a super election year, witnesses intensified political communication, strategic staging, and digital disinformation. Notably, electoral gains by far-right and Eurosceptic parties were linked to highly effective social media campaigns. Because we are now in a European frame on our conference, the European Parliament elections in June 2024 might be an example. The far-right and Eurosceptic parties recorded significant gains in several member states, including France, Italy, Austria, and Germany. While this broader shift to the right was widely diagnosed as a pan-European trend, deeper research revealed that young people beginning at the age of 16 who were able to vote had voted even for the right. These developments, not the young, but it was quite a focus on the young turning 16. These developments were attributed to the highly effective social media campaigns conducted by populist actors. But of young people, of course, they aren't so responsible for this. They are, of course, but now the target group we are discussing at this conference. So I put an eye on this. It is within this context that the concept of metapolitics becomes particularly relevant. It constitutes a central strategic element of the so-called new right. I know this is some part of theoretical, but I need this in order to explain afterwards the musical phenomena. Drawing on the work of Alain de Benoist, metapolitics involves the use of popular culture to disseminate political ideology. It represents a long-term strategy aimed to gradually shifting societal discourse. This approach builds on Antonio Gramsci's distinction between the war of position, a prolonged cultural struggle for influence, and the war of maneuver, so to say, direct political confrontation. While Gramsci envisions cultural hegemony as a means of emancipation, Benoist reinterpreted it as a strategy for embedding conservative and far-right values within culture, media, and education. Concerning the importance of using music and media for metapolitics, a shift over time can be observed, which I have conceptualized in terms of 3 phases and corresponding models throughout my research concerning far-right and music. So I can define, I think, 3 models how the far-right music and media are built up and go on with the political interference. So to say, the old school model, as colleagues call it themselves, the 1.0, beginning in the late 1980s. And I label it like demarcation. And musically, it's characterized by harsh sound, shouting, trash, so to say, oi punk, underground music, and music productions, and even, of course, anonymous concerts, or so to say, underground concerts. The 2.0 model, this is where I started my research on far-right music. So far-right scene and music, this better word. I'm labeling in like mainstreaming, starting around 2010. and using as music distribution means soundtracks, of course, of movies, blockbusters, so familiar music, pop songs, and distribution of political ideologies by music videos. And the last one, currently going on, the 3.0 model since around 2022 at least, for the term bullshit flooding, I call it. This means AI-generated hate songs, hate videos, and deepfakes. And right now, in the following, I will focus on the models 2.0 and 3.0 as my research centers on these more recent formats. So I'm starting with the mainstream model and what it means. So the political struggle of the far right through music in Model 2.0 marks the transition from obscurity, so from underground to the public eye. Here, mainstream music and media are strategically appropriated. Although the means have changed, the underlying political positions remain the same, including, among others, anti-egalitarian, racist, xenophobic, homophobic, sexist, and misogynistic positions. And let's turn to real life. The key for the shift from the margins into the public sphere was and is the staging of the Identitarian movement. They operate across Europe and maintain transnational connections with the alt-right in the United States. The pictures shown on this slide document one of the most recent actions, the so-called remigration demonstration in Vienna in July 2025. Participants included, among others, were the Identitarian movement from Austria and Germany, the Swiss neo-Nazi group Junge Tat, particularly staff associated with the FPÖ and supporters or sympathizers of the AfD Alternative für Deutschland. From here on out, I will no longer use the euphemistic term remigration, but will call it what it is, deportation. I will spend a few words on the worldwide view of the Identitarian movement. I'm sure you're already familiar with this, but I just want to establish a common understanding for my further explanations. You see it on top of the slide. The Identitarian movement emphasizes true European culture and homogeneous ethnic cultural communities within the framework of a European empire, so to say, a Europe of nations, and opposes multiculturalism and egalitarianism. They declare white supremacy through the creation of ethno-states and the exclusion of non-white resistance. One of the anti-Semitic conspiracy myths focuses on the notion of the so-called Great Replacement, großer Austausch. According to this narrative, the white population is allegedly being systematically replaced by non-white ethnic groups orchestrated by a Jewish establishment somewhere behind the curtain. In response to the slogan of the so-called white genocide, far-right actors have in recent years increasingly promoted demands for deportation, accompanied by chants such as foreigners out, Ausländer raus, and Europe for white Europeans. These positions are advanced through a strategy of cultural camouflage, as I would call it, which has been deployed over 15 years in order to obscure, disseminate, and ultimately normalize racist, exclusionary, and dehumanizing worldviews. Through what Rainer Mühlhoff has described as a culture of digital activism, these movements pursue the dissemination of their ideology, which is grounded in a form of provocative nihilism, and cultural production is used to suggest and reinforce notions of a cultural hegemony. Provocation plays a central role, including the deliberate transgression of social and political boundaries. And now is to put the question on what kind of music and where's the music and the part of music in this process going on. In order to provide this ideology with the dimensions of sound, a particular musical piece has, since 2024, become established both as a de facto anthem of far-right extremism and as what it is framed as a new national anthem. Just as a reminder. You know, this, of course, this is the four motive concerned to the L'amour toujours song by Gigi D'Agostino, released in 1999, and gained renewed prominence in May, at least in May 2024, when a video went viral showing patrons in a bar on the German island of Sylt chanting xenophobic slogans, foreigners out, to its distinctive four-note synthesizer motif. This motif had already circulated before within far-right circles as a sonic meme paired with xenophobic lyrics and disseminated via platforms such as TikTok. So in May 2024, this was just the moment where it came into the public eye. And now I'm going to try to dig into deeper with a concrete example. And as an example of the far-right appropriation of L'amour toujours and the encoding of hatred, exclusion, and the imagination of so-called white supremacy, I will analyze the video White Christmas. It was uploaded to YouTube in January 2025. And the account, Brotherhood of Europa, this is right, Europa, shares the same far-right ideological positions as the Identitarian movement already outlined, which are embedded in coded form within the video. So what are we going to see and what is the meaning behind is quite a complex. So I will first show an excerpt from the opening section and subsequently attempt to decode its underlying meaning, because what we see is the one side, but what it means is a totally different thing. So this is a mixed up of several scenes and pictures and videos which the user Brotherhood of Europe put into a new video. And at first glance, the video might give the impression of a promotional film about Europe, showcasing a variety of landscapes, cities, as well as national, cultural, and Christian traditions and norms. But what is behind as a meta-politics? However, a closer reading reveals a pronounced emphasis on the color white, conveyed through snow-covered landscapes and the exclusive depiction of white individuals throughout the whole video, which will later go on. As a result, whiteness acquires a specific ideological connotation, and the title White Christmas no longer refers merely to a snowy festive setting, but rather to racially coded celebration. This is further reinforced through visual motifs of mountains symbolizing monumentality and sublimity. The ideological dimension becomes fully apparent only as the video unfolds through a range of additional symbols and references which occur later on. A recurring motif, one might say in Richard Wagner's sense, leitmotif, throughout the video is that of a figure skater which operates through color coding. The combination of black, white, and red evokes the flag of the German Empire used until 1918, which is frequently used in far-right context as a substitute for prohibited Nazi symbols. Notably, the footage itself, it originated from entirely different non-political context. So this video had been hijacked. It was in generally black iced in Engadin and St. Moritz, filmed in 2020, just as a portrait on the figure skater Celine Blara. And now it had been reinterpreted in this kind of video. Further on, seen this already, I'm going to see the animal symbolism. At first, the eagle similarly functions as a symbol of dominance and power, with clear references to heraldic and imperial iconography, or at least, of course, maybe because far-right is connected to National Socialism with a Reichsadler. And the wolf, we will see him later on, and its even domesticated counterpart, the German shepherd, is associated with the notions of Aryan, as well as with symbolic reference to the National Socialism, as Hitler himself gave his own given name, the Wolf. So this is always alluding to somewhere else. Further on, we see sequences depicting Christmas celebrations from the 1950s and 1960s evoke a nostalgic past framed ethnically as a Christmas of whites. So White Christmas is Christmas of whites. We see different trains. Recurrent imagery of trains symbolizes a means of deportation in order to send migrants home. Even this screenshot of the red trains of the Swiss Rätische Bahn, one may discern the color symbolism of red, white, and black once again. So this is what we see, the visual part. But concerning the music and the use of l'amour toujours, the elevation of whiteness is further reinforced by the sound of l'amour toujours, whose use as underscoring contributes significantly to the process of monumentalization. Underscored is the version employed in the 2017 cover by Alex Christensen featuring Nicole Cross and the Berlin Orchestra. And the symphonic sound in particular amplifies the four-note motive, transforming its expressive quality and thereby revealing a new dimension of l'amour toujours. So to say, the transition from a danceable pop song to a hymn-like form due to the sound of the monumentality of the symphonic orchestra. And this becomes obvious in the closing sequence. So this is the glorification of the foreigner out motive. Yeah, you name it. Boah. And with the final image, Europe for Europeans in different European languages, and the musical gesture of l'amour toujours, a further transfer takes place. Its xenophobic function is effectively ennobled through the symphonic idiom of high culture. It touches even the original cover version, so to say, the use in the internet. This is the original YouTube video of Nicole Cross and Alex Christensen. And if you look at the commentary beneath the original version, you'll find comments such as, "Please stand up for the national anthem of Europe." And the user use the profile image displays, because always on symbol language, displays the crest of the German football club, Borussia Dortmund, BVB 09. However, the colors yellow and black are also associated with the Identitarian movement. And moreover, the V in BVB might be interpreted as an inverted version of the movement's lambda symbol. So you're going to see who is going to speak there. Here we observe a further act of appropriation at the level of reception, whereby meaning is reassigned and the piece is redefined as an anthem. Since 2024, l'amour toujours has been circulated among far-right users on YouTube as an alleged anthem of a white Europe based on national ethnicities. So the different videos and some screenshots of user-generated content explicitly label the piece as a new anthem, or even, as I see it on, at the bottom, as a remigration anthem. The awful word of remigration implies turning back the clock. So remigration mean a reset, as we've seen it in the video, the glorification of tradition and the past. And this points to a key interpretative framework. I would just like to show you the concept of nostalgia. Nostalgia is often perceived as a benign emotional state, that is, a longing for the past characterized by both pleasure and mild sadness. However, it also implies a sense of loss in the present, thereby elevating the past as a preferable condition. Through its emotional intensity, nostalgia forms a bridge to the politics of emotions, particularly when mediated through music. Scholars, such as Agnes Arnold Foster, have distinguished political nostalgia in which the past functions as a refuge and a source of stability in times of uncertainty. Closely related is national nostalgia, characterized by the perception of national decline and skepticism towards future. National nostalgia currently plays a significant role in political discourse and has contributed to the rise of right-wing populism and far-right extremism. Within the cultural sphere, this manifests a cultural war over heritage, memory, remembrance, and historical interpretation. The apparent regression of democracy to levels compared to those of the late 1970s, as I already mentioned, may be interpreted as coinciding with this longing for the past. It's a paradox that becomes particularly evident in Model 3.0, where cutting-edge technology is used to evoke regressive visions as an utopia. So we're at this point, the bullshit flooding, not even to pronounce it right. I've chosen the term bullshit as it is defined in philosophy as the antithesis of truth, a conceptualization that I find particularly compelling. Moreover, the term inherently carries an evaluative dimension with regard to the content it describes. Artificial intelligence is increasingly utilized within political frames, political extremism, right and left, but particularly on the far right. AI enables the creation of propaganda content with a particularly strong emotional focus. Such content can be produced and disseminated rapidly on a massive scale and at little or no cost. It also allows to create content for which no pre-existing images, videos, or music are available, or which would otherwise require significant effort to produce. Importantly, those processes are no longer limited to experts. At the same time, actors are able to operate anonymously within relatively protected digital environments through the use of avatars or the anonymous user of the internet. We've got two techniques or even a new genre, the AI-generated hate song, in which in AI-generated music, increasingly the target of ethnic, gender, racial, and religious groups are to be found in this generated hate. And since March 2024, output has grown significantly due to tools as Udio and Zuno. And the technique we'll find is that of deepfakes. This means synthetic audiovisual representations of faces, bodies, or voices, which have been widely accessible since around 2020 and are now firmly embedded in mainstream media environments. And this is an example mixed up an AI-generated hate song using deepfake, which I call Deportation Song. This is an untitled song produced in 2024 by the Junge Alternative, the youth organization of the Alternative für Deutschland, which was used as part of the campaign for the state parliament elections in Thuringia and Brandenburg in September 2024. The accompanying video was AI-generated and shows the Aryan type of Europeans, or even more the blonde and blue-eyed Germans. The music consists of an AI-generated cover version of a party song by Die Atzen. Das geht ab, wir feiern die ganze Nacht, released in 2009, featuring newly generated lyrics such as Jetzt geht's ab, wir schieben sie alle ab. Let's get going with departing them all. And the four-note motif from L'amour toujours is inserted immediately before the chorus line, wir schieben sie alle ab. The vocals use a deepfake to imitate the original voices of Die Atze singing. So you might believe Die Atzen, the band, are really engaged with the Junge Alternative and support their political intentions. I will play it in short because we have to hear it in order that we can recognize this. Not as a producing or promoting, but just as information moment. It's just a few seconds. You'll find a video in real life because supporters or even members of the AfD dancing and singing this song at an after-election party in Thuringia in September 24. So we have to return to the identitarian movement and once again to the concern of remigration, deportation, in order to find several things, projections concerning the future. And AI-generated imagery is also used to construct dystopian visions. And in such scenarios, we'll see some idea. No, this is a dystopy of 2050, which is already right now the slogan going on, what is going to happen in 2050. And therefore, Identitarian movement and its supporters use AI-generated content where we are going or where we are able to see what is going to happen in, this is especially Vienna, but you can find examples all over Europe, countries and different stories about, but I find this one on Vienna and you might recognize different places you've already visited during the conference. This AI-generated imagery is also used to construct, as I said, dystopian visions of the future. In such scenarios, cities like Vienna are depicted as degraded and chaotic under the influence of migration, while white individuals, especially males, are reduced to the role of observers or tourists. This representation illustrates a fundamental epistemological issue. AI generates probabilities based on training data, but of course not truth, but they support and they're supposed to be the truth. Last example, an AI-generated influencer, the AI rapper Danny Bones. The far-right party Advance UK paid the Note project to create AI content for the election campaign with an AI-generated influencer named Danny Bones. He sings about globalization, high taxes, poverty, and immigration. His 4 tracks have gained more than 375,000 Spotify and YouTube streams, and his songs are cut into YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikToks that have been viewed nearly 3 million times and picked up and repurposed by other creators across social media. And what it is like, I'll just show this in a few moments, called of his, I think, most popular song, This is England, released in November 2024. And the song draws negative images of a country in decline as Britain is falling. And the implicit message that foreigners are ultimately to blame becomes clear in the lyrics. You see it in the blue lines. The streets are saying that it's Britain, that we're mourning, benefits are rampant, the borders are open, and streets are boarded. His music evokes national decline, thereby mobilizing national nostalgia. This marks a transition from the war of position to the war of maneuver, as we see it on some screenshots. And the era of digital activism is accompanied by real violence and the return to violence. AI introduces a fundamental ambivalence. While representing the most advanced form of technology, it simultaneously evokes an almost nostalgic desire for direct physical action, suggesting a return to the violence of earlier periods of the so-called street fighting years. In short, the use of AI in these 3 examples shows that far-right extremism are using AI to shape the future and the past according to their own will, spreading it everywhere in no time. Come to a conclusion. In order to infiltrate society, far-right actors rely on the following strategies: emotionalization and imaginative engagement, And the process of infiltration might be described as provocation and boundary transgression, the repetition and multiplication of a permanent brainwashing, normalization of previously unacceptable norms. And within AI-driven context, the overwhelming volume of content leads to desensitization and a diminished perception of real threats. So, and at least, and I think this might be the bridge to our discussion, the questions where to turn to and how to U-turn. I can share this later. This is just a short notice how, in order to, for example, to expose AI-generated music, is always, I think, the one thing, look for the human being and look for human qualities. So is there an actor, a singer, a band, are they really alive by being live on stage? I think this is a quite important thing. And listen to some pronunciation of singers concerning the music. You find, I think especially, and this is my strengthening of music history, so try to find out if there's any anachronistic things going on. So might be using electronic drum beats in pretended recordings of the 1950s or 60s. So you can find out if this is really original or AI generated. And you might find some tools on the internet which are for free, checking tools for AI-generated music, or even how to use Udio and Suno and maybe produce your own videos, strengthening and advancing democracy. And I think at last, or a very important point might be that acting early and always be aware what is going on might be helpful, since as the Wiedem Institute find out, most U-turns happen around the end of the first electoral cycle. So when there's some moment of political change in advance, we have to put an eye on this and focus when to react and how to come into discussions with students, pupils and other social groups. And maybe at least I can share this as well. Some kind of material you can use at school, and some further readings. I used some of them for my lecture, and reading helps, and I hope we find some more answers, more questions in the now following discussion. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much for these insights. I have to admit I'm kind of speechless. And I think now the format is meeting this in a good way now. We have now up to 15 minutes, I would say, to talk in the groups. And in all the different rooms, you can form small circles and talk, and maybe also think of what questions you would like to address to Yvonne after that. So we have until 9:45 the phase in the groups, and after that we have 15 minutes to get into discussion with you again.
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
For sure, it would be nice.
Our question was, from your perspective, as a musicological perspective, how can we as music educators take everything that you know and bring it into schools and set it into action onto the streets?
Same question, yes, I think. Thank you. Yeah, I think this is the most important question, how to deal with all the informations. And I think the most important thing is to be as quick as possible. So, because we're running out of time, and we were talking and discussing it with Isolde and Tade. So maybe we need some kind of internet platform, online platform, where we can share our knowledge, because even the kind of symbols I showed, they're always turning up and maybe in different use as well and reinterpreted as well. So we need some kind of common sharing of our knowledge. And because if I write it down and the book is printed, and until you can use it in schools, I think we lost a year already. So we need to be in contact and even share our discussions on this kind of conferences and maybe go more into scientific formats. That's the thing I can say. Got no answer. This is the one. Okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I would now propose that we take one question from here, and maybe Wilfried from Ölberger Studio, someone can come down and post a question. We seem to have a problem. You have no questions? Oh, come on.
Oh. We need some human intelligence. So. HI.
Thank
generated.
you so much for this. I don't know if I have a question. Let's see. I'll start talking. I've been living in Germany for 15 years. I'm a first-generation immigrant from Turkey originally. So everything you showed stressed me out and triggered me a little bit. In the same time, made me uncomfortable, and we were talking in the group. We are very thankful that you didn't try to finish it on a very happy note or whatever, because I think it's important to sit in this uncomfortable feeling, and we had to get angry, so we take an action. And also, when we were talking in the group, I realized it is so easy, probably, for many people to separate themselves from such videos and songs because they are some angry bad people somewhere who's doing this. But I do experience, this is my everyday life. I do experience this every day, even in the environments that you wouldn't expect, even in academic environments. Not everything is far-right extremist, but the similar patterns, I do get them from some professors as well. Some music educators as well. Like if you read the subtext, if you read the subtitles, I don't want to compare everything and make it super simple. But this was something we were reflecting on, that how can we also think that we all, including myself, we all are responsible for this outcome. This is not just some angry bad people somewhere producing videos. It's the pattern, I think, because we were grown up in such systems after colonialism and everything. We all have such thoughts. If you really, really, really reflect yourself very honestly, I think everybody will catch such moments, even if it's a glimpse of a moment, and then we do probably take the action, actively fight for this thought. And yes, this is, I think I just wanted to reflect on this and wanted to say thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
I want to say thank you so much. It was so interesting. And we are very aware of our responsibility. It's me.
Okay,
yeah?
thank you.
Of our responsibility in the music classes. And at the same time, we would be very grateful if such a platform came into existence, because we are well aware of our of the difficulties, since, like for example, me, I don't watch TikTok, I'm not on social media, so I'm not up to date, and I really would need such help. And our question is, because that was in our experience, after an exhibition where my colleague has been with her students, Exil Arti, it was like the students, it was just like putting that idea of violent things into their heads. And so it's the conflict between we should take the responsibility and talk with them about this topic. On the same time, how can we avoid that they do things with this, that we put new ideas into their heads we don't want them to have.
Yeah, but if you don't, you leave the field to the other ones which are playing already in that field. And I think, therefore, we need to be aware what is going on, and even to watch the problem and to be active. And share knowledge, information, but in a precise way and in an open interpretation. So I think, yeah, we're talking about the wolves in the sheep's clothing. So in order to reveal that, you have to dig deeper. And we have to talk about this because I think this is the most dangerous thing to avoid. And oh no, I think I will maybe some schlafende Hunde wecken, so to say, so waking, sleep and wake the dogs. But if you don't, the other one will. And therefore, yeah, we have to be a part of recognizing what's going on.
We would have time for another question, and I would ask room number 2, if you also have another question, please send over your delegates.
This was...
Do you have a second question? Do we have a second? Okay, so but maybe something came up. You are invited to come over, but in the meantime, we take one other question from here.
Yeah, thank you for your input on that topic. I wonder what you think or what the rooms are thinking about the strategy of reappropriation, for example, of L'amour toujours. I know some examples where someone tried to like rephrase the text with love instead of hate, but as far as I'm aware of, these are like minor steps, and it does not get in the like whole country, or it's not that obvious or not that present. And like in words, yeah.
Ja. Maybe kann ich noch einmal bitte meine Präsentation haben? Ja. I made an AI-generated song for my own concerning democracy. This was the prompt in English, but I got this one with a German text. I don't know why. Maybe it was because of my IP address. It was in Germany. And I asked, okay, if they use Udio and Suno, why don't we? And produce our own videos, produce our own songs on democracy and strengthen democracy. And maybe we can do this and share this with students, pupils in class. And I asked music which shows the values of democracy, citation from L'amour toujours by Gigi D'Agostino, replaced, because Zuno told me, no, we don't use other artists' sounds. And I like to do it in a cinematic orchestration, as we heard it in the White Christmas video. Maybe just a short listening. Okay, this is what I got. I didn't edit it anyway.
Platz vor dem Rathaus, Pappenhemden, bunte Schrift. Kinder auf Schultern, Alte erzählen, was früher schief lief. Eine Stimme zittert, doch dahinter stehen 1000 mehr. Keiner perfekt hier, aber wir kommen her. L'amour toujours für die Freiheit, Liebe für die Wahl, die wir uns trauen.
Ja.
Demokratie, wir bauen sie aus. L'amour toujours, wenn wir aufstehen, jede Stimme macht den Himmel weit. Hand in Hand, wir stehen zusammen.
Yes.
Es gehört die beste Zeit.
Hey, thank you. That's my hymn on democracy. So now it's Zuno's IA.
So I've been asked to translate a little bit. So it's basically
Okay.
yeah. So it's an anthem about freedom and love of elections, and that they're standing together and deciding the future of democracy, and every voice can be heard going up to the heavens, and they're standing hand in hand together, and it's the best is yet to come. Hey.
Great. Yeah, but what I really like is the moment of l'amour toujours für die Freiheit, for freedom, because this is the most important value of democracy. And this maybe, yeah, it was just a test, but
Yeah.
why not?
Thanks for showing
Thanks.
that. I mean, on the other hand, it shows that how intelligent the opposite side worked, right? I mean, the songs are super professional in the symbols and so on, and if you have just like a version like this, it doesn't reach the same level of influence, maybe. But of course, yeah, we have to work on that. Yeah.
Maybe Helene Fischer might sing this. So this is the style of Helene Fischer. Yeah.
We have to get artists on our side. Thank you very much for this very, very informative keynote, and thank you very much for this discussion and questions that we could take. I think you're some minutes around, so we have a coffee break now and the possibility to talk to Yvonne and talk to each other. Oh, sorry.
No coffee break.
So there's no coffee break, but we don't need it. We have energy. So it's a water
Become some
break.
kind of happy ending right now.
Yeah.
So a little bit.
Okay, some organizational.
Yes, some
insights?
small organizational things. So there's no coffee now, but in the next break, is that right?
This break is only 15 minutes.
It's only 15 minutes?
And the next break is
Yes, the next break is also only 15, but there will be coffee. No, but the coffee is there a little longer. So one session more, and then there will be coffee. I do the same things as I already said. Please don't forget to give back your badge. And please, you will get an evaluation link today. So when you go home by train or flight, so be so kind and do the evaluation, especially because we need it, as we have been a green meeting. And this is very important, again, to make it clear also to us what worked out for you and how it was. And I think that's it. Come
No,
to the
we
closing.
forgot to have a big applause for Yvonne.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.